Welcome YouTube. This is going to be a deck profile of my zombie deck. I'm Matt Hines with Team Dragon courtesy of you follow. Just a little ragtag group of friends just starting up some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, so let's get into the deck profile. Alright, first off we're going to start with the big important monster of the deck that you would want to see a lot of at the start. Unizombie. Pretty much this is a foolish burial for any of you who do not know who or what this card is. You can send a zombie type monster from your deck to the graveyard to raise any monster's level on the field. You're mainly going to want to use him for this. And you can also use the second effect to raise his level once again in the same turn by ditching I think it's a zombie type monster from your hand as well. So good if you have Mizukis in your hand that you don't want. So pretty good card. Next, level 2 tuner, Plague Spreader. Pretty much a go-to card for the graveyard if you have any in there. And if you don't have them in there, you might want to put them there quickly. And if you have one in the opening hand that you don't want to have, pretty much just set it and let your opponent attack it. So what if you take a little bit of damage? It's not really going to matter, because it can get itself back in the graveyard anyway. Next, 3 Mizukis. Pretty much your monster reborn. You remove this card from play from your graveyard to special summon any zombie type monster from your graveyard. Doesn't matter what it is, and since this deck runs Zombie World, that can be anything that you have in your graveyard as long as Zombie World's on the field, and the effect allows it to be special summoned back. Alright, next, 2 Tristan Knight of the Underworld. So this is a pretty cool little card. If you have another zombie type monster on the field besides himself, he gets a attack boost to 2100, and when he's normal summoned, you can get any zombie type monster with 0 defense and add it to your hand. This is especially good if you have Zombie World on the field, because this deck runs quite a few of those, and Effect Veiler is not a limitation of that. If Zombie World's on the field, you can get Effect Veilers back with that, so pretty good. Next, Bella of the Underworld, which is a pretty good card.
You got a Tristan.
Oh, well, looky there. Thank you to my counterpart over here. He saw that. Alright, level 4, Bella of the Underworld, is pretty good. Runs very well with Tristan. If you control a Tristan, you can special summon this card from your hand automatically, and you can raise level with this card for 2 zombie monsters. All you do is you pick herself and one other zombie type monster you control, and you can switch their levels between 5 and 8, or sorry, 5 or 8, not between, and their levels will become that. So good for rank 8 Xyz, and it only works with zombie type monsters, so be aware of that effect. You cannot get out Big Eye with that. Then 2 Goblin Zombies. Pretty much the searcher of the deck, and also it has a little bonus effect that if you get off some battle damage, you can mill a card from your opponent's deck. So 2 Zombie Masters. 3 can get a little bit cloggy, so I only run this at 2, but it's pretty good because you can discard 1 monster from your hand to special summon 1 level 4 or lower zombie type monster. If Zombie World's on the field, you can do that with your opponent's graveyard as well, so pretty good. And then the 2 Effect Veilers, which would be very good if Zombie World's on the field, because it has a 0 defense, and plus you can use it to tune if absolutely necessary. But yeah, it'll stop monster effects dead in their tracks when you need it the most. And then the big boss monster of the deck, which is Dark Arm Dragon. So pretty much, since this is mainly a dark deck, I can destroy near about anything on the field. Spells, monsters, traps, doesn't matter. And that's it for the monsters of the main deck. Alright, for the spells, 3 Zombie Worlds, pretty much a go-to for zombies, period. And plus, if anybody, and I don't know who still does this, if anybody tribute summons, they can't do it unless it's a zombie type monster, so it's not going to help against special summoning. but
it'll shut down Monarchs.
Yeah, it'll shut down the Monarchs in a heartbeat. Alright, and then we run 1 terraforming. For that, 2 can just get too cloggy, and you'll probably run into zombie worlds early in the game anyway, so it's not really going to matter. Alright, then 2 Book of Lives. 3 can get a little bit cloggy, especially if your opponent doesn't have anything in the graveyard, because your opponent has to have a monster in the graveyard to use this. And the only upside to this one is that you can remove a monster from your opponent's graveyard from play if you use this. So, Monster Reborn that can remove. Alright, then we use Foolish Burial for obvious reasons, and a Burial from a different dimension, which you're going to be removing your Mizukis a lot, so this is a good way to recycle them back to your graveyard. Yeah, that's pretty much it for those. Polymerization, self-explanatory. We run 2 fusions in this deck, one of which uses polymerization, the other one uses this. And for most of you who play Yu-Gi-Oh, you know where this is going. Alright. Raigeki, Dark Hole, and Mystical Space Typhoon are your destroy spell and traps and stuff like that, so. Alright, onto the traps. We run 3 Black Horn of Heavens. This can just negate a special summon. Pretty good, and it's a counter trap, so monster effects are not going to stop those. 2 Fiendish Chains. Self-explanatory, it stops monster effects of 1 monster when you need it, so run those at 2 because there are a lot of annoying monster effects out there today. 1 Solemn Warning, which is pretty good if you have the life points to spare for it. Stop special summoning or trap card or spell card that can special summon other things. So, and then I was skeptical about putting this in here, but Malevolent Catastrophe was mainly going to be used for Necro Valley if I ever ran into Gravekeepers, but it can be quite useful if I need it against any other card or any other deck that uses a bunch of spell and traps that I don't like. That's pretty much it for the main deck. Alright, let's go on to the extra deck. 1 Beelzus. This card is pretty much a situational card, but I have it in here just in case I need it. It has 2 drawbacks. First of all, it is the only card that can attack while it's face up on the field. The second effect is if you use the effect to reduce one of your opponent's monsters' attack to 0, and you gain the life points to that. The only drawback to that is any battle damage that you inflict is halved for that turn with this card. So, situational. So level 10. Now to the level 8s. You have Beelzus, which is a level 8 that's pretty annoying to get around. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and if you take damage either by a card effect or by attack, this card gains the difference. And the attack increases depending on how much damage you actually took. Next, Dark End Dragon, pretty much just to get rid of, it's kind of like a Dark Arm, just a better Dark Arm Dragon. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, this is your control card just to keep people in check. It just bounces back anything that you don't want as soon as it hits the field, as long as this card remains face up, or if this card is special summon, you can bounce something that's level 5 or higher back to the extra deck. Staple, Go-Yo, self-explanatory for people who know what it does. If you don't know what it does, if you destroy an opponent's monster and send it to the graveyard, you can get that monster back from your opponent's graveyard and special summon it in defense position. So pretty much what Zombie World does with zombies, if you have monsters that can do stuff like that in zombie decks. Next, I used to run this at 2. I'm running it at 1 now because I don't Xyz near as much as I Synchro Summon with this deck. So Zombie Stein is actually pretty good. It's a 4500 beat stick when you need it, and also if your opponent runs card effects that you don't like, all you have to do is just switch him to defense position. And I'm not sure if you have to discard for that. Yeah, you have to send one card from your hand and switch it to defense position in order to use this effect, and you can stop a monster effect from happening. Alright, the next one. We got Lancelot, which is pretty much effect negator, and as long as it has XYZ material, excuse me, it can attack your opponent directly. But the only drawback to this, it can hurt you as well as your opponent. So any effect that activates first during your turn or during your opponent's turn, this card automatically has to detach for that. You have no choice. So it can hurt you, so be careful about what effects you use before you plan on summoning that card or doing anything with it. Alright, next, your level 4 Xyz. And these are the only two I run. Silent Honor Arcs. Pretty much, you can take a monster from your opponent's side of the field and attach it to this card by discarding 2 level 4 monsters. Pretty good to get anything that's troublesome on the field out of your way. Alright, so the fusions, we run 1 Dragon Necro, Nether Soul Dragon. This is a good card. It can't destroy anything it attacks, but as it attacks and the attack goes through successfully, it'll reduce that monster that attacked down to 0, and it'll create a token that gives that token that monster's attack that attacked, and then you can swing again and destroy the monster, or crash into it, or whatever you're going to do, and just get it out of the way. So, pretty helpful. Next, Mask Hero Darklaw. Pretty much a Necro Valley for your opponent. It will stop a lot of things nowadays since everything runs, you know, out of the graveyard. So, definitely run one of those. And on to the side deck. Just pretty much a ragtag side deck. Run 1 Stardust Spark Dragon. Pretty much it doesn't do the same thing that Stardust Dragon does. It just stops one thing from getting destroyed per turn. 1 Black Rose to nuke the field if need be. 1 Dark Rebellion Dragon. 2 Castels. And then the monsters from the original Zombie World deck. 2 Paladin, a Cursed Dragon. Pretty much does the same thing Go-Yo does with Zombie World on the field. Shitendoji is actually pretty good because you can recycle your remove from play monsters, only 1 per turn. It has 2 effects, but I think the one where you recycle your remove from play monsters is actually pretty good. 1 Necroface, which is pretty good, especially if you're wanting to recycle your stuff and get it back into your deck. And it gains 100 attack for each remove from play monster returned to the deck in that way. 1 Max C for draw power. 1 Soul Charge, self-explanatory for people who play Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you don't, you can, as long as you pay 1,000 life points, you can get as many things back from the graveyard as you need. 1 Allure Darkness for draw power. Retro card, Bait Doll. I like to use this against people who run traps a lot, and it annoys the piss out of them, so that's a pretty fun card to use if I ever get to use it. And 2 Royal Decrees for trap-heavy opponents, since you can't use traps when this card is played. So that's pretty much it for the zombie deck. If you have any ideas or thoughts about it, just leave a comment below and tell me what I could do to make this deck a little bit better, or if you guys want to try it out yourselves, feel free. Have fun with it, and thanks a lot.